Have you ever wanted to erase your past? To find a blank page, a silent space, and just start again? That's all Maya wanted. After the years she'd had, the loss, the grief that felt like a physical weight, this house was supposed to be her sanctuary. It was a beautiful, modern cabin on the edge of Whisper Woods. All glass and warm wood, facing a serene lake. She bought it furnished, a life in a box, ready for a new owner. It was perfect. Or so she thought until the phone rang. It was her third day. Boxes were still scattered like forgotten memories. The call was from a number she didn't recognize. The voice on the other end was polite, apologetic even. "Hello, is this Maya? This is Elena Sable. I'm the former owner of the lake house. I am so sorry to bother you." Maya was confused. The sale had been smooth, through agents. She'd never met Elena.
"Oh, hi.
"Is everything okay?" Yes. "Well, no. This is incredibly embarrassing. In the rush of the move, I was an absolute scatterbrain. I forgot to disconnect one of the security cameras. It's a wired one, built into the bookshelf in the living room. The main panel is in the master bedroom closet. Would you mind terribly just unplugging it for me? I feel awful that it's still on." Maya's eyes drifted to the floor-to-ceiling bookshelf. It looked seamless. No obvious lens. I don't really see it. It's subtle, designed to blend in. Look for the third shelf from the bottom, right side. There's a small, black circle in the wood grain, right next to the brass bookend. The power cable runs behind the shelf into the wall. The main hub is in the closet, a small black box with a green light. Just unplug that, and it's done. Again, I'm mortified. It seemed like a simple, reasonable request. A minor inconvenience. What harm could there be in helping the previous owner tie up a loose end? Sure, I can do that. No problem. Thank you, Maya. You're a lifesaver. I'll sleep better knowing it's off. Have a wonderful evening in your beautiful new home. Maya found the camera, exactly where Elena said it would be. A tiny, dark eye she'd walked past 100 times already. She went to the master closet, found the panel. A sleek black box with a single, bright, red light. Not green, red. A steady, pulsing red glow in the dark closet. She stared at it. Forgot to disconnect it, Elena had said. But a red light usually meant active. Recording. Transmitting. A chill, completely unrelated to the autumn air outside, trickled down her spine. Why would Elena need her to unplug it? If she had access to the feed, she could see it was still on. She could have just said nothing, and Maya would never have known. But she did call. She specifically asked for it to be turned off. Almost like she was asking for permission to stop watching. Or was she trying to see if Maya had found it? The question swirled. Instead of unplugging the box, Maya's finger hovered over it. Then she pulled her hand back. She closed the closet door. That night, for the first time, she felt a presence in her empty house. Not a ghost, but an eye. And a decision began to form in the quiet of her mind. What if she didn't unplug it? What if she waited to see who, or what, was on the other end of that signal? The camera's red light became a heartbeat in Maya's new life. Every morning, she'd glance at the bookshelf. Every night, she'd feel its silent gaze. She became a ghost in her own home, hyper-aware of her movements in the living room. But curiosity is a powerful poison. It mixes with fear and creates a dangerous cocktail of defiance. She couldn't unplug it now. She had to know. Her first move was research. Elena Sable. Social media showed a perfect life. A successful interior designer, charity galas, a handsome husband named Daniel, a golden retriever. Her Instagram was a curated museum of happiness. #blessed. #grateful. The house Maya now lived in featured heavily. Elena's proudest project. But there was something in the eyes, in the comments. A desperation in the perfection. A line Elena had written on a post 6 months ago caught Maya's attention. Sometimes the most beautiful houses hold the quietest secrets. People commented with heart emojis. Maya read it as a confession. Days turned into a week. Maya lived her life, unpacking, working remotely, walking by the lake. All the while the camera watched. And then the first transmission came. Not a video, but a signal. The red light in the closet blinked. 3 short pulses, then a long one. A pattern. A code. It happened at exactly 10 p.m. Maya's breath caught. This wasn't a forgotten device. It was a live wire to Elena's world. The next evening, at 10 p.m., she was ready. She sat in the living room, in full view of the camera, pretending to read. The light blinked the same pattern. ... dash. Over and over. It was a beacon. Or a warning. The breaking point came on a rainy Thursday. A notification popped up on Maya's personal laptop, an alert from an old and used cloud storage account. A folder had been updated. A folder named lakehouse_archive. Her blood ran cold. She never created that. Clicking it open, her hands trembled. Inside were files. Video files. Dated from the past week. Thumbnails showed her living room. Her, sleeping on the couch, making coffee, crying while looking at an old photo of her father. Every private, vulnerable moment archived. But the most recent file was different. It was time-stamped from that morning, but the thumbnail was dark. She pressed play. A whisper, strained, filled her headphones. "Daniel, please. We can't keep doing this. He's going to find out. He knows something." A man's voice, angry and hushed, responded. "He doesn't know anything. The money is gone. It's his problem now. The new girl, the buyer, she's the perfect cover. It's over, Elena. We're over. I'm not drowning with you." A sob, then silence. Maya sat in stunned silence. The recording wasn't from the bookshelf camera. It was from somewhere else in the house. Elena and Daniel had been here, in her house, recently, while she was out. The camera wasn't just a forgotten gadget. It was part of a system. And she was not just an occupant. She was a pawn in a game she didn't understand. The betrayal wasn't personal yet, but it was intimate. They had violated her space, her safety. The grief in her heart hardened into something new, something sharp and cold. Anger. They thought she was just a sad woman, a convenient cover. They thought their secrets were safe. Maya looked at the blinking red light. A slow, deliberate smile touched her lips, the first real expression she'd felt in months. No. She was not their cover. She was about to become their worst nightmare. The hunter had just walked into her own trap. Maya's quiet resolve turned into a meticulous, silent mission. She began to search her own home, not for possessions, but for eyes and ears. Using the flashlight on her phone, she examined every inch of the spacious rooms. She found it in the vintage lamp in the bedroom, a tiny pinhole lens. Another was embedded in the smoke detector in the hallway. A sophisticated, invisible web. They weren't just watching the living room. They were listening to everything. Instead of feeling terror, Maya felt a strange, icy calm. Knowledge was power. She now knew the battlefield. She started to live a carefully curated performance. For the cameras, she was the slightly lost, grieving woman, talking to herself about missing her father, about the difficulties of the move. But away from the microphones, in the hum of the shower or the roar of the blender, she planned. Her online investigation deepened. She found the he they feared, Viktor Krasnov, a name linked to high-end, shady import businesses. Court records showed civil suits, but nothing criminal that stuck. He was a ghost with a reputation. And then she found the other piece. Liam Walsh, Elena's former business partner. A recent, quiet article mentioned his design firm had suddenly dissolved after a major client, later revealed to be Viktor Krasnov, alleged funds had been misappropriated. Liam had denied it but settled out of court, his reputation in ruins. The comment sections were merciless, calling him a thief. But Maya looked at his photo, a man with tired, honest eyes, and she didn't see a thief. She saw a scapegoat. The blueprint of the lie became clear. Elena and likely Daniel had taken Victor's money. They'd pinned it on Liam. The house sale was a frantic cash grab, and Maya, She was the fresh, clean owner who would find nothing, suspect nothing, the perfect final curtain on their crime. But the curtain wasn't closing. Not if she could help it. Maya knew she couldn't do this alone. She needed an ally who had more to lose and more to gain than she did. She created a new, encrypted email. She wrote to Liam Walsh, not as Maya, the new homeowner, but as a friend of the lake house. The message was simple. I believe you were betrayed by Elena Sable. I may have a way to prove it. The proof is in the house she sold. Are you willing to look? For 2 days, there was no reply. She watched the red light blink its nightly code, her performance for the cameras continuing. Then, a single-line response appeared. What do you need? It was the beginning of a fragile, digital alliance. Liam was cautious, broken by the betrayal. But he provided pieces of the puzzle Maya lacked: bank routing numbers, the name of the shell company Elena used, the exact amount that vanished, $750,000. He confirmed Victor was not a man you stole from. Meanwhile, Maya explored the digital footprint of the surveillance system. The blinking light was a data transfer signal. The system had a built-in failsafe. It uploaded audio snippets when triggered by voice, sending them to a server and, crucially, keeping a local backup on a drive somewhere in the house. That was the archive she'd accessed. Elena and Daniel had been coming back to retrieve that drive, but they couldn't find it. Maya turned the house upside down. She finally found it, not in the attic or walls, but in the most obvious place, hollowed out inside the heavy, marble base of the floor lamp in the study. A small, black hard drive, still warm. It held everything. Years of data. Not just from the last week, but from Elena's entire time in the house. It was a diary of deceit. She heard arguments about the embezzlement, conversations where they planned to blame Liam, even a chilling discussion where Daniel suggested, the new buyer will take the fall if anything is ever found. Will be long gone. They had never intended to disconnect the system. They intended to use it to watch their fall guy. They just didn't know the fall guy had been replaced by someone who was now watching them back. With Liam's help, Maya now had the full picture and the evidence. But evidence in a file was not justice. It was just data. Justice needed a confrontation. It needed them to break. So, Maya began the most important performance of her life. She staged a discovery. One afternoon, she stood in the living room, directly in front of the bookshelf camera, holding a small, locked metal box she'd bought from an antique store. She made sure her face was a mask of shock and greed. She spoke aloud to herself, her voice trembling with faux excitement. Oh my God, it's real. It was in the attic, behind the insulation. All this cash. And a ledger. This is someone's secret. This is blackmail money. She made a show of hastily hiding the box under the couch. That night, the red light didn't just blink its usual code. It went frantic, short, rapid pulses for nearly an hour. Maya smiled in the dark. The bait had been taken. She and Liam were ready. He was parked a mile down the road, connected to the live audio feed Maya could now access from the hidden microphones. She waited in the darkened study, watching a monitor showing the living room feed. Just after 1 a.m., a key turned in the back door lock. They still had a key. Of course they did. Elena and Daniel slipped inside, moving with a frantic, silent urgency. They went straight to the couch, pulling out the empty metal box. Elena's whisper was a razor of panic. It's empty. She found the real one. Daniel, we're finished. Shut up and think, Daniel hissed, sweeping his phone flashlight around. The drive. We need that drive. If she has the money and the drive, she has everything. It has to be here. We turned this place apart. Elena was crying now, real, jagged sobs of terror. Victor called me today, Daniel. He said he's done waiting. He doesn't believe the Liam story anymore. He said he's coming to collect from me. This is your fault. Daniel spat, the partnership dissolving into mutual desperation. You couldn't just take a little. You had to be greedy. You had to have the perfect life, and you built it out of his money. And you helped me. Elena shot back. You signed the forms. You helped frame Liam. You wanted the boat, the cars. Don't you dare put this all on me. Their whispered argument, a symphony of betrayal and fear, was captured in perfect, damning clarity by their own microphones. Maya and Liam heard every word, recorded every confession. The criminals were convicting themselves in the scene of their own crime. But Maya's plan had one final, elegant step. Revenge wasn't just about exposing them to the law. It was about exposing them to themselves, and to the man they truly feared. Using Elena's own vanity against her, Maya, posing as a lifestyle magazine editor named Claire, emailed Elena, complimenting her iconic lake house design and requesting an exclusive, in-person interview for a featured spread. "The house is so central to your brand," the email read. "We'd love to photograph you in the space once more to discuss how your personal sanctuary inspired your work." Elena, desperate for positive press and a return to normalcy, agreed immediately. The interview was set for the following Friday afternoon. Simultaneously, an anonymous tip was sent to Viktor Krasnov's known associates. The $750,000 and the people who took it will be at the lake house on Whisper Lane this Friday at 3 p.m. The stage was set for the final act. Friday arrived, crisp and clear. Maya was calm. She had moved the hard drive to a safety deposit box. The local police, tipped off by Liam with a snippet of the audio, had plainclothes officers nearby, ready for a signal. At 2:55 p.m., Elena arrived alone, looking polished and nervously hopeful. Maya let her in, playing the part of the admiring new owner. "The house is just as stunning as your photos," Maya said, her voice warm. Elena beamed, her eyes darting around, looking for the hidden cameras, for any sign of the box, of her secrets. "Thank you. It was a labor of love." "I'll bet," Maya said, her tone shifting, becoming colder. She walked to the bookshelf and pointed right at the hidden lens. "Like the labor of love that went into the surveillance system. The one you forgot to disconnect." Elena's face went bone white. I don't know what you..." Maya tapped her phone. The audio from that frantic night played through a small speaker. Their own voices filled the sunlit room. Asterisk, "Victor called me today. This is your fault. You helped frame Liam." Asterisk, Elena stumbled back, as if struck. "How did you turn it off?" "Turn it off? Why?" Maya asked, her voice now deadly quiet. "So, your partner in crime can't hear? Daniel's listening, isn't he?" That's what the blinking light was. An all-clear signal for him to come back and search when I wasn't home. At that moment, the back door opened. Daniel walked in, freezing when he saw Maya standing there in control. And then, a large, black sedan pulled up silently on the gravel driveway. A man in a dark coat, Victor, stepped out, followed by another. The justice she had orchestrated was arriving in layers. Elena made a choked sound of pure terror. Daniel turned to run, but found his path blocked by two men in casual clothes flashing police badges. The scene in the beautiful glass house became a frozen tableau of comeuppance. Victor stood outside, watching through the glass, a silent, menacing judge. The officers moved in. Maya simply stood by the window, a silent architect of the collapse. She spoke only to Elena, as the former owner was led away. "You built a beautiful house, Elena, but you forgot one thing. Even the quietest secrets eventually find a voice." The chaos subsided. The arrests were made. Victor, presented with the evidence of the embezzlement and the confession pinning it on Elena and Daniel, turned and left without a word. His business was with them now, not the house, not Liam, and certainly not Maya. In the profound silence that followed, Maya walked through every room. She finally went to the closet, reached in, and unplugged the black box. The persistent red light winked out and did not return. The next day, she had a professional remove every hidden device. The house was finally, truly just a house. Liam's name was publicly cleared. The new story was a minor scandal, interior designer and husband arrested in embezzlement scheme, and Maya's name was kept mercifully out of it. She was just the unnamed new owner who had stumbled upon evidence. She liked it that way. A few weeks later, she received a letter from Liam. It contained no return address, just 2 words on a plain card. Asterisk, thank you. Asterisk, she placed it on the now inert bookshelf. Maya sat by the lake as the sun set, painting the water in hues of orange and purple. The grief for her father was still there, a quiet companion. But it was no longer the only thing she felt. She felt the solid ground under her feet. She felt the peace of the woods. She felt the strength of someone who had stared into a hidden eye and had not blinked. They had sought to use her silence as a cover for their noise. But in the end, she had used their own noise to bring them a silence more profound than any they could imagine. The silence of a cell door closing. The house was no longer a furnished box of someone else's life. It was hers. The past was not erased, but her future was no longer haunted by it. She had gone searching for a blank page, and instead, she had written her own story. One of justice, not violence. Of outsmarting, not overpowering. The moral was clear to her now. Some betrayals are so deep they build their own prison. And sometimes, the key to that prison is held by the person they never saw coming. The last light of day faded, and the first stars appeared over Whisper Woods. Inside, the house was dark and quiet and finally completely safe.